Hey everybody, welcome to the infinite regression. Oh man, so infinite in here, it just goes on and on and on forever. Kind of lonely and desolate. Anyway, but don't worry, while you're stuck here, we got video games. And today, we got a fun one. We have a game called Strike Suit Zero Director's Cut. I'm not sure what makes it the director's cut, but it is the director's cut. So there you go. Anyway, this game, Strike Suit Zero, originally came out in 2014, made by Born Ready Games, and as far as I can tell, this is their only game. So, yeah, they better have made it a good one. Did they? We'll find out. So. It's pretty straightforward. Look, I will be honest with you because I think if you're the type of person who is going to be looking at games like this, there is something that you are definitely looking for in terms of what you want this game to be. Because we all want it to be Gundam. That's what we want. We want something that feels like we are playing our favorite Gundam anime. You know, we are Hiro Yui in Gundam Zero. You know, that's what we want. But this is not that. Let me just say up front, this, not that. At first, I will be honest, I was a little disappointed when I started playing this, and it was not immediately like, yeah, you're a Gundam, transform, be a fighting robot in space and do the thing. Now, to be fair to this game, yes, some of the ships that you can unlock do, in fact, transform from ship into robot, and they are more powerful in robot form than they are in ship form, and that's kind of what you want. So there is that mechanic. But does it feel like Gundam? No. So do not be under any illusion. Maybe it's just me. Maybe every other person on Earth is going to be like, why would I expect a game that is very obviously not named Gundam to play like a Gundam game? Well, maybe that's because some of us have been burned before by some of the terrible Gundam games, which do exist. There are some terrible ones out there, and there's some pretty good ones too. But as far as official Gundam releases, yeah, there's some not good ones to be had. So, when you have this insatiable thirst for Gundam type content, then yes, that's what you're looking for when you see any game on Steam that's like, hey, it's, spaceship that turns into robot and fights in space. And you're like, Gundam, perhaps? No, not Gundam. Sorry. Let's talk about what this actually is, however. This is a really interesting space dogfighting type of game. There's a story, there's a whole story about how, humans left Earth to go colonize elsewhere, and then, factions rising up, and so now it's, people trying to protect the Earth and whatnot is the whole thing. Anyway, so yes, you are trying to save Earth from destruction, but the story is kind of loosely woven in there. You kind of have a sense of it, but it's not heavy. It's not. I wouldn't say this game is story driven. I would say this game is action driven, with story elements attached to it. That's how I would describe it. So at no point are you going to be like, oh, but did this character and what and plot twist and no, not really. Not that I've seen thus far. I haven't finished the game, but I played it for a few hours, so I have a sense of what it actually is. Now, those of you who cut your teeth on various other space style, dogfighting type games. I'm talking about your old school LucasArts X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, all of those mamma jammas. This will have a ring of familiarity to you for a couple reasons. First of all, controls kind of slippery. Like, I'm not gonna lie, it's hard to get a solid lock on things at first. You're just gonna feel like your mouse is way too sensitive. I mean, obviously, if you have a gaming mouse where you can dial that back, you might be able to dial it back and get, a little better than before. But I think the game was designed to be a little slippery because you're fighting in a three-dimensional space, and so you kind of have to keep your head on a swivel, and that's more or less what it produces. Because I feel like they could have tightened it up if they wanted to. Now, my frame of reference, the space game that I play the most, which is not specifically a space dogfighting game, but has space dogfighting elements in it, is No Man's Sky. So, yes, my frame of reference is No Man's Sky, which the combat in No Man's Sky, if you've been playing it for a long time, like I have, has evolved over time. It was pretty sketchy at first, and then they developed this lock-on system, which made things a lot easier and perhaps too easy. And so, it can take a little bit of the fun out of the space combat that you can just lock onto things and just fire away with whatever weapon has ammo still. Yeah. This is not that. It because the entire game is built around space combat. It's not, also exploration and building and crafting and, diplomacy and story and all the things that No Man's Sky is. This is just, you are a pilot. You have other pilot with you. You're out flying through space. You're trying to save Earth. You've got missions that you have to accomplish. It's very mission oriented. And so really, honestly, you take it one mission at a time and you sort of focus on, what do I have to do right now? And luckily, there are big red arrows that just point and say, your objective is this far away. That part of it makes it very easy to figure out, because I have played 3D space fighting type games, dogfighting type games, where the objectives were not very clear, not very well explained, hard to find sometimes, and it's just frustrating if you can't figure out what you're supposed to do in three-dimensional space when you're supposed to be dogfighting and whatnot. This is not frustrating in that way. It's actually very nicely laid out. You're going to have, characters talking in your ear telling you what to do next if you don't know, and making sure that you are always clear on what your objective is. So that's good. That's really good. And overall, this game is fun. It's pretty fun. Now, I'm not going to say that it's, best open space shooter I've ever played, setting new limits to what is possible. I mean, it's funny because something from 2014 to me still feels like, oh, that's brand new. No, it's 8 years ago, better part of a decade. So, it is a little longer in the tooth, especially because I think this is one that I acquired not that long ago. Anyway, but yeah, even though it's slightly longer in the tooth, still very fun to play. Still very interesting and intriguing. At times, it can feel a little samey with, similar enemy types that you're having to face down and just sort of try to find them and lock onto them and shoot them out of the sky. I do like how the missiles work. The missiles are very handy. Where if you find your target, lock on, they're very powerful, very good. When you transform into mobile suit mode, well, strike suit mode, you have to collect enough flux by killing enemies, and then that little red meter goes up. When it's about 3/4 of the way, you can hit the space bar and transform, and then you become, fighting robot. And all of a sudden, your little pew pew gun becomes kaboom kaboom, and your missiles, which were, 3 at a time, but fairly powerful, all of a sudden you're shooting like 10 at a time, and they're all locking on the target and just obliterating it. But you can't stay in strike suit mode very long, because while you're in strike suit mode, your flux diminishes. You can also dash at things, but also it's harder to fly around. You're kind of more stationary when you're in strike mode. And so what you want to do is alternate between flying and striking, and then keep that good balance so that you can take people out and make them suffer for the things they did. They know what they did. They know what they did. They were indirectly attacking Earth because all of it's mission based. And so it's all like, this group of guys that you're about to kill is some way, somehow interfering with Earth and fighting on the wrong side, the people who want to destroy Earth. So you got to destroy them first. That's how that goes. Anyway, very fun little game. I enjoyed it quite a bit. It didn't blow my mind, but I also had fun with it. So that's what's important. Let me put a final score on it. Okay, so final score shouldn't surprise. I'm going to go 4 out of a possible 5 Gundam Zeros. My personal favorite Gundam. Look, I know there's a lot of other Gundams, but Mobile Suit Gundam Wing was my first. So you never forget your first Gundam. Currently, I'm watching Iron-Blooded Orphans. It's really good, just like people said it was going to be. But do I prefer their Gundams over Gundam Zero? Nah, not really. Anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, 4 out of 5 is really good, not superb, not over the top, but still really good. Anyway, it's a fun little game, and I don't know how the wheel always knows this, but it's currently on sale for $7.99. Normally it's $19.99, $20, and honestly, I don't know if I would buy it at that price. That's just me personally. I'm very stingy with my gaming dollar. But right now you can get it for $8, and that seems about right. Anyway, I think that will do it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here for this one, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.